Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
WMAL.
6:07, it's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in to a busy Wednesday morning. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Look at you, Julie. You're fired up today.
I am. You know, anytime we get to talk about Jake Tapper.
Coming up at 6:35, Cal Thomas will be our guest. 7:05, J. Christian Adams on a voter fraud case in Pennsylvania that he is tracking down like a hound dog. And then at 8:35, Molly Hemingway has some thoughts on Jake Tapper and the media's complicit behavior in covering up Joe Biden's true mental capacity. And now, it truly is a French kiss that Jake Tapper is going to try to get rich off of a book about it.
Yeah, God.
It's amazing. That's all coming up. Right now, here, if we could turn to the world of sports, because a huge development happened yesterday. And the way the news cycle goes these days, something this big would normally have just sort of plastered across all media platforms. In a weird way, it didn't get enough attention at all. Major League Baseball made a huge announcement. They lifted the ban on Hall of Fame consideration for, well, most notably Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson of the infamous Black Sox team that was involved in receiving money from gamblers to throw the World Series. They're now eligible for the Hall of Fame. And joining us right now is John Condit. Now, he was a sportscaster for ABC Dayton, Ohio. He's president of Cradle Concepts. And you're an Ohio baseball fan, so you loved Charlie Hustle. You loved Pete Rose, part of the Big Red Machine, and you actually got to interview. Weren't you one of the last interviews that Pete Rose did, John?
Indeed. Good morning. It was September 20th, and I was desperately seeking a full studio sit-down interview with Pete Rose for a documentary film that we're working on, and 10 days later, he passed away, which was unbelievable. But I'll tell you, tonight there's going to be 40,000 fans at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. It's Pete Rose night. My extended family has almost 50 tickets. We knew it was going to be a good night. It's now going to be a fantastic night based on what's developed.
It's huge. And during that interview, did obviously this had to come up. What was Pete's sort of state of mind there with regard to his status with Major League Baseball and the potential for this ban to be lifted?
Well, Pete said he had come to the conclusion that he would get into the Hall of Fame once he died. His exact words, 10 days before. And he said in so many words, that's wrong. You get into the Hall of Fame for your family. You get into the Hall of Fame for your fans. What good is it going to be if they do this after I die? And so I asked him, I said, are you bitter about this? He's like, I'm not bitter. I screwed up. But clearly, he wanted to be in the Hall of Fame when he was still alive. And I'm really happy for his family, Pete Jr., Fawn, his kids, and it's really special, and I give a lot of credit, and I thank President Trump. So I think he's used his bully pulpit to put some pressure on the commissioner. They met 3 Wednesdays ago, less than a month ago, and now he's reinstated, which is the first big step to him hopefully getting into the Hall of Fame as the hit king for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I have to say my husband is from Ohio and a huge Pete Rose fan. I mean, he had a bumper sticker when I met him on his car called that said "Reinstate Pete." He is a huge fan of Pete Rose. But I agree with you. This is really sad that, Billy Cunningham, a great radio guy in Ohio, said murderers get parole much faster than Pete. And I understand, that he did something wrong, but I still don't understand why they waited for him to die to give him this honor. It's just something that I don't think fans understand either. You mentioned this means a lot to the fans. Well, it would have meant a lot to the fans to see Pete see this while he was still alive. Have there been any statements on that or any reasoning? I just don't understand what changed aside from his death.
Yeah, Julie, that is a great question. And on a lighter side note, I was 23 years old in 1989, and I did a commentary on a TV station here in Dayton back when I was on air. And I said that if Pete doesn't get into the Hall of Fame, I will personally padlock the doors of Cooperstown. And thank God I may not have to do that now. But I'm so glad that I'm not going to have to go to jail at this point by doing that. But
Dude, just so you
I
know,
don't.
if I had to live up to every stupid thing I said when I was in my early 20s, I wouldn't be here today. I promise. So it's all good. You're fine.
Right on, right on. But it's going to be interesting to see how the family reacts. I know that stadium's going to be incredible tonight.
Yeah.
Pete Rose broke Ty Cobb's record, Julie and Larry, back on September 11th, 1985.
Mm-hmm.
The night before he did that, the pitcher, Eric Shaw of the Padres, asked me to sneak him out of the stadium. He did not want to be part of that historic moment. He died in a drug rehab center at the age of 37. Mm-hmm. And this film documentary that's coming out this fall that we're working on would have been not quite the story without getting Pete. So we got that interview. And the interesting thing is, I said, Pete, if you could do it all over again, would you play it differently? And he said no. He said, I thought I was going to get away with it. And so to answer your question, Julie, the fact that it took this long, maybe it's because Pete lied a long time about it. Then he wrote a book and made money off of it. But I come from the side of mercy and forgiveness. I think that's where President Trump is coming from when he talks about giving Pete a pardon. And you can go to a website called pardonpete.com and sign a petition for President Trump to make good on that promise, which I know he's going to do soon. But this is spectacular news. I understand those that say, you know what, he still should not be in there. Bart Giamatti's son, the former commissioner who's now in his 60s, his son said, this is not good what's happening. But I understand both sides of the issue, but he's such a great baseball player.
Yeah.
More hits, more runs, more winning games. It's fantastic for millions and millions of baseball fans.
Yeah, and listen, I have some sympathy for people who are saying, listen, rules are rules, and these are the rules. Also, the punishment should fit the crime, especially in light, John Condit, of the fact that gambling is now a part of the daily conversation. Sports shows, Major League Baseball programs are sponsored by sports betting apps. You watch the game and you see an ad for sports betting in real time behind home plate while the pitch is being delivered. It's the hypocrisy. It's like, okay, betting on games was illegal. You couldn't do it until Major League Baseball and the networks figured out a way that they could make money off of it, and now it's just fine.
That's such a great point, and Pete talked about that, man. Personally, I could not have those apps on my phone. I'd be in-game betting. I know my personality, and that's what's going on now. People are chasing their bets. We have so much to share in the months ahead and into 2026 on Pete's full interview. But yeah, he talked about that. He said, I was wrong. I screwed up. He said, but now betting's culture in baseball now. It's embraced by Major League Baseball. So, Commissioner Manfred made a decision. I think it's a great decision. I don't know what his motives were, but I'm grateful for it. Well, and it's going to be the biggest day ever in Cooperstown if this next shoe falls and he gets into the Hall of Fame.
There will not be a dry eye in the house at Great America Ballpark, that's for sure. And it's an exciting time for the game. The game needs some rejuvenation. It needs to make a connection to its past because it's been in the wilderness a bit. So maybe this will be part of what helps it. John Condit, excited to hear about the documentary. When it rolls out, please let us know. We'd love to have you back.
Hey, thanks so much, and have a great day. Appreciate being on.